Het-Heru, this is Het-Heru and Namaste. Welcome to another broadcast. And today I want to talk to you about what makes a successful relationship. And this is a question that has vexed many people since the dawn of time, you know. But if you look at other broadcasts that I've done, I've talked specifically about the three types of relationship, which are Aset, Het-Heru, or Hathor, or actually Aset or Isis, Het-Heru or Hathor. And who's the other one? What deity is that? Oh, Ma'at. Okay. And all three of these deities govern relationships. So you should look for that video that I did on these three types of relationships. And someone asked me a really good question the other day during a class I had. And they said, well, which one is the ideal relationship? And I said, there is no ideal relationship. It's just what your energy is best attuned to. So, you know, the Het-Heru or Hathor is a type of relationship that is a very affectionate relationship. It is a relationship that is based on a lot of external things, meaning that the person you're with is going to need you to upkeep the way you look, go to the gym, look really good all the time, smell good, look good, tell them that they are beautiful or handsome. And that's a requirement for a Het-Heru relationship. We used to call that the Twee. Twee is a Kemetic word for, how does that translate to? Twee would translate into a sweet relationship, like it's full of affection and sweetness and things of that nature. Whereas a Ma'at relationship is a very cold, moist energy, which is, it may not be an affectionate relationship, but it's a very loving relationship. It's unrequited love type of relationship. And a Set is a very devoted and nurturing relationship, because a Set is the equivalent to the Virgin Mary. And, you know, in the story of the baby Jesus and the whole story of the Immaculate Conception, Mary gave birth, Immaculate Conception, to Jesus, baby Jesus, and Mary gave birth to Horus or Heru and nurtured him to adulthood to fight Set and to help his father, Heru's father, back to the throne, resurrect Osir or Osiris. So those are the three types of relationships. And, you know, you could be in one of those type of relationships or a combination or all three, you know, depending upon the person that you're with. Now, the idea of having a successful relationship is very romanticized in Western civilization to a fault, because we you know, it's, you know, you look at Hollywood movies and you see these things where it was very interesting. I used to, when I was in film school, I used to study all of this stuff, how they would show the woman in the black and white movies, and when they would cut to the woman, you would see that the lens would be kind of like foggy or blurry, and it would be romanticized how beautiful she is and things of that nature. So it was very, very much a fantasy, and the man would bring flowers or get on his knees. And at the end, they would have the kids, and it would just be a dog and a house and all of that. It would just be a happy ending. It'd be beautiful. But, you know, it's things have changed, and it's seldom like that. And the important thing that you have to understand is that relationships take work. And in the traditional ancient cultures, it was the community that helped you and your mate in your relationship. And it was done in many different ways. And chief among that was through the passing on of a culture. And the culture ensured that if you follow the culture properly, that the relationship would last, you know. And just to give you an idea, some of the things that were required in the culture is that the woman couldn't be alone couldn't have like all these men friends. She couldn't be alone with her men friends and things of that nature, because that could lead to certain things, you know. And that each person had roles and responsibilities that they had to fulfill with the family. They were expected to have kids. They were expected to take care of those kids. And then the grandparents had a role and had a say in how things were done. And then even the ancestors, the spirit of the ancestors played a very important role in the relationship. You had to create an altar or a shrine to the ancestors, and you had to bring them food and presents on certain days. So there was really this entire culture built around relationships, and they extended it not just to the living, but to the dead as well. So I want to talk a little bit about that and how we can look at it and relate that in terms of today. But the main thing I want to talk about is, I don't want to go into antiquity. I want to talk about modern relationships. The one thing that I am seeing that when I counsel people is that the main thing is what they're looking for. And I'm often hearing a lot of guys talk about things like, she's got to have a big booty. She's got to have a big booty. Now, I don't know if you guys are understanding why a lot of African-American males focus on the big booty thing is because, in Africa, women would store water in the butt, in the booty or whatever. And that enabled them to travel long distances. So that was a survival thing. So, and a lot of, when you think that males are only, they're just visual, they're sexual, it's because when they look at things like a breast and butt or hips, those actually are very good things they're looking at, because it indicates survival, that indicates fertility, that indicates longevity. We can say Mother Nature, we can say biology, we can say God, Netter, has made it so that what it appears to be that males are looking at just women's external appearance, but what they're really looking at is how healthy she is. Will she be able to bear children? But we in the Western world think that, oh, he's just looking at her, her breasts, and that's not so. There's a specific reason why she should have breasts, and that's for, nurturing and, breastfeeding the child and making sure that you have, milk for the child and things like that. But anyway, my point is that guys, I think, have to get out of that thing about that looking just at the butt and because there's different divisions to who we are, the spirit. There's a Sahu. Sahu is what we would say is the animal nature of who we are, and this is, you can see this Sphinx, and the Sphinx, is part, let's say, just put it this way, part cat, part human. And that symbolizes by the lower aspect being of animal nature, the high aspect being of God, God-man nature. So there is the opportunity for us to go above our Sahu nature, our animal instinct, to look and look at the higher aspect of things. So when we're dealing with one another, we should always think in terms of our striving to be God men and God women. And when you get into a relationship, the relationship is the primal purpose of the relationship is going to be, how is this person going to help me with the challenge of becoming a God man or a God woman? That's how we have to look at it, Now, one of the things that plays a key role in the dynamics of the relationship is your relationship to your father or your mother. It will come up eventually. And we call these like the father archetype and the mother archetype. If you had trouble relationships with your father, that's going to come into play in a relationship. If you've had trouble with your mother, that's going to come into play time and time again. It always comes up. It is a constant dynamic. But the thing that I want to go back to is that relationships are very, very complicated. And I think, again, Western society tries to simplify these things. And this is why ancient cultures made it so that there was a whole cultural thing. Now, I chastise guys about, only looking at one thing, the booty, and even creating rap songs around the butt, which is ridiculous. But I think women have also have failed in a lot of ways in terms of there are two things that have to happen for a civilized society to carry on. One is that a society needs to be built. A civilized society needs to be built by men, need to go out there and do the hard work of building and conquering and doing all the hard work. And women who have a role in fostering the culture, basically the infrastructure that is going to enable that society to thrive and to survive. And without women's role in doing that, everything that the men built will crumble and fall apart. So in other words, the cultures, the values, the morals, all of that has to come from the women and has to be carried on through each lineage. And what you'll find is that we don't have a lot of that going on. what we have is that we're throwing kids into public schools. What you'll find is that we're letting kids go play on the street, and we're allowing social engineering, we're allowing society to program the kids, and the kids are then coming back and talking about Nicki Minaj and Cardi B and things of that nature. And when what they should be talking about is Ra and Ptah. I mean, when I was in the spiritual culture, there was a cute little girl. She was running around, and every time we had a break from our meditations and things like that, she would come and sit on my lap, and her and I would always talk about Ra and Ptah. That was the subject she loved to talk about, and we would get into these discussions about it and about how Ra, his daughter was Ma'at, and she laid the foundation, the law down, and things of that nature. And her mother was very good on instilling that within her. So that culture was going to be carried down through her and through that little girl's children. And this is a big fail on our part to not have this. And it doesn't have to be Kemetic culture, long as there's some type of spiritual culture. And I think in the New Age movement, the witches, they're doing their best to carry on their spiritual culture through their lineage, So, we have to start looking at that. And creating a community around that can work with us and help us sustain our relationships. You know what I mean? Because relationships are hard for just two people to maintain them. We need to have a collective gathering that can watch over us and work with us to sustain the relationships. And from what I have seen, if you look at ancient African society, Mormon societies, or other societies, especially societies that have, that have taken on things like polygamy, they have actually prospered, where they have closed themselves off from the rest of civilization to form their own communities. They have prospered. When they have not prospered is when they have been infiltrated by government agents and taken over, or because we felt what they were doing was wrong. But most often they have prospered in that way. So we need to start looking and thinking about that. Now, I'm not saying that you should go and start your own covenant or go out there and create your own your gnome. Sometimes they call it gnomes or covenants or whatever. I mean, you can if you want. I think that's a wonderful idea if you can get the right people to get involved and form your own little community, and where you have appointed people with appointed responsibilities. But going back to the subject of hand about relationships, is that you have to make sure that you and your partner are in the relationship, and that it should be based on spiritual principles, and not just on the physicality. Now, that has always been a point of contention, because people always think that if you are going to pursue a spiritual path, that the mate you pick should not be somebody who you are physically attracted to. And that's wrong, because Het-Heru, Hathor, or who she governs the planet Venus, there is a sexual attraction that has to be there. You have to have that. And so we don't exclude that in spirituality. We say, yes, there should be you should be attracted to that person. You shouldn't be like hooking up with somebody that you don't feel anything for. It's kind of stupid, And then, but along with that, there has to be a spiritual thing to it. Now, what do I mean by the spiritual thing to it? Well, that's a little bit complicated and a little bit very involved. Some people will say, well, it's that person has to be my soulmate, it has to be a twin flame. Again, those are romanticized ideas coming out of Western or European society, But the short answers to this are twofold. I'll try to get into this and make it really short. The idea is you reincarnate many, many times on this planet, because you are ascending. You are trying to become Oser. You're trying to become a sage, God man, God woman, right? And you are experiencing many different lives, so you can learn from these lives. And because God, Source, Yahweh, Neter, is experiencing itself. All right. So in doing that, think about it this way: in this lifetime, you left off something. You didn't complete something from your last lifetime. That could be you fell in love and weren't able to marry your mate, so you were reincarnated, and you need to fix that. You need to find that mate again and maybe marry that mate this time in this life. I'm just hypothetically saying. So will you be able to do that in this lifetime? Or should you do this in this lifetime? These are things you would go to an oracle reading to find out, which is why an oracle reading or having a diviner in your life with your relationship is very important, because a diviner is an objective person who could help give you advice in that relationship. A diviner can say, hey, you know what? This person is from your past life and you're meant to be with this person. So this person would be what you would, quote, call your soulmate. Or you would get with somebody and the diviner would say, you know what? This person is going to cheat on you in about 5 years. Don't get together with this person. This person is going to cause your life hell. So you would know right away, and you would give it. The diviner can't make you do anything. The diviner can only tell you what the consequences of your actions, what will unfold. You as God man or God woman have the decision of what to do. You inevitably make the decision on which way to go, left or right. Do you understand what I'm saying? But the idea is that you come into this lifetime with something that's unfinished, and that could be a relationship issue. And if you are looking into get into a relationship, then you can go to the diviner and find out what type of relationship did you get into, what type of person is best suited for you and your energy type. Does that make sense? Because right now it's like the wild, wild west. People are just going by what they feel, what they see. He has a 6-pack. I'm just so into him. Or she's got nice breasts or big booty. I want that, But the idea is like, is this person helping to fulfill your destiny? Is this person helping you to spiritually grow? Because that's what you're here for, You can ignore that. That's up to you. If you want to ignore that, sure. Go ahead and ignore that and find someone who's going to cause you some issues. And you will learn from those issues and hopefully grow. And the next mate you pick will be a better one. It's up to you. Or you could deal with it now by doing the oracle reading and finding out what that person is going to cause you in your life and avoiding that person. You know what I mean? So the other thing that we need to understand is that Tahuti, or Thoth Hermes, however you want to call him. Just to let you know, Tahuti, the T again is interchangeable with D, so some people call him Jehuti or Jehuti. He is your consciousness. He is consciousness. Sometimes you'll see him as a scribe, the ibis bird, and he is your consciousness, and he records everything you do in this life. And when you die and you come back again in that next life, he records everything. So he's your consciousness. He is aware of everything that transpires. So that when you pass on and die and you go before the judgment scene and you go to the scales of Ma'at, Tahuti goes over everything that you did. And Tahuti says, you were supposed to do this, but you did that. You were supposed to do this, but you did that. You're supposed to do this and you did it. Great. Okay. So based on all of these things, we're going to say that you should have your next life should be this, because this needs to still be completed. And this was completed, so we can scratch this off, but this isn't completed. So you need to go to this new life and finish this off. But we got to wipe your memory. So you won't remember any of this. Are you okay with this? And you, as your higher self is standing there, will agree to that. And then you will be reborn, but you won't remember anything. And you'll have to do all this over again. You understand what I'm saying? So and now here's the important part about it. The mate that you pick and the family that you have, there's a good likeliness that you will be reborn through that lineage, through that family line. This is why when you hear some people talk about the global elite and how they very much intermarry, because they want to be reborn into that same lineage. That's what they're doing. And I told you basically about how Egypt was able to build pyramids and achieve such a high degree of knowledge, is because they knew how the power of reincarnation. So they had people who would be reincarnated. So if you were a master mathematician, they knew how to have you reincarnate and still pursue that subject matter to master it to the umpteenth degree. So anyway, you would be born that same, so the mate that you pick as your wife or your husband, you would be born into their family line in the great, great, great grandson or granddaughter family line. So that's why it was important. And ancient traditions knew this, and they were very careful about these things, you know? So careful in such a way that they had arranged marriages because they didn't want people, especially women, just to willy-nilly pick a partner at a young age, because they knew you were young, your hormones were going, you weren't thinking clearly, so you couldn't pick a mate. They would say, no, you're not picking a mate, you're not mature enough yet. We will pick one for you, you know? And then the mate would have to bring dowry and then show that he was financially and maturely able to take care of you. Now, with that said, I just wanted to bring your attention to the complexity of relationships and how they need to be cared for and governed. And one of the things that I've always emphasized in relationships is looking into the person's soul and looking at this person in their eyes. Because when you stare into a person's eyes, you can see very clearly into their spirit, their soul, whatever you want to call it. And a lot of times and you have to be at peace. You have to be in a state of amen. Because you'll be able to tell if they're honest, if they're deceiving, you know, especially if you are an empath or if you're a Pisces, we can pick up on that energy vibration. And many times it saved me from making a bad choice. And a lot of times I avoided eye contact with certain people because I said, oh my God, if I, you know, as a little kid, I would like avoid eye contact because I know that if I look at them, they know I wasn't telling the truth, you know. I ate the lollipop. Yes, I did. So, you know, and you'd be surprised at how looking into their eyes will reveal so much. And if you're kindred spirits, then you will feel it. You'll feel it right away. But we have to sometimes take so we have to take a step aside and stop looking so much at the physicality. Yes, physical appearances are great, but you have to also say, is this person sincere, honest? Is they're a good person? You know, that's what's important, because what's happening now is what I am seeing. And you know, I was involved in one spiritual community, and this issue actually caused me to leave it. Was I saw how people were becoming members of that spiritual community, pairing up quickly and having babies like right away, and they weren't even married and they weren't even paired up. They were just hooking up and having babies. And I was like, I spoke to one woman there, and I was like, how are these people having babies so fast? She says, because no one's using protection, you know. And the leader of the spiritual community should have brought this, should have like addressed this issue, and he didn't. And there were some other issues that he didn't address as well. So I saw right away this was not the place for me, and I had left. But what I'm seeing now is that there is just this. It's really like just this. I'm using this term lately, which seems appropriate, is this microwave age where everything is supposed to be quick, 2 minutes. You know, we meet, hook up, have baby, and then there we go. There's no courting, there's no getting to know you. It's just, hey, we got a baby, we're in a relationship, and that's it. No marriage, no nothing. So you just have to take things a little bit slower and pull back a bit to get to know the person and start to understand and say, hey, tell that person you're in a spiritual community. Tell that person you're spiritual. Tell that person you work with oracles, and see what that person says. See where they're coming from, and if they head for the hills, then then maybe they weren't for you. Okay, so that's just a tiny bit about what makes a successful relationship. If you want to go this route of a spiritual relationship. Now, I want to stop for just a second and get really, really serious with you, okay? Because this is a very important subject that's been weighing on my heart. And as the son of Ma'at, that should not be so, because my heart should be weighing lighter than the feather. But this is a dire situation. It is very, very serious, you know, and I'm not going to speak on this probably again for a long time. And the issue is this, and it's in relation to relationships. we are at a point of where many of our ancestors are looking to be reborn, are looking to come back and do their jobs. And some of these ancestors are star seeds. And if you don't know what star seeds are, you can Google it. There are spirits who come from other planets to be reincarnated on this planet to guide humanity in the right direction. But they are unable to do so, and simply because we have reached a point of where, and I'm citing conservative numbers here, at least per year, we're looking at least 400,000 abortions. All right. I'm no judge. I'm no jury. But all I'm saying is this, that these are ancestors and they're looking to come back to help us. And we need to think about allowing them to come back and guide us. And we're not doing that. So let's give this some second thought. Let's think about this, and let's work better to move over toward life-affirming principles and ideas. So with that said, if you like this video, hit the like button. And subscribe to my channel if you want to get more important information and messages. And until the next broadcast, this is Het-Heru and Amen Ra.